What's up, you guys? Matt Canzone with Canzone Chronicles. I got a great one for you today that's near and dear to my heart. It's World War II involved. C-47 behind me, used in D-Day. This was the World War II of taxis back then, and we're gonna find out why. Let's get into this video. Hey guys, I'm here with Reed Kimball. How you doing, sir? And he's gonna go over the C-47 and how vital it was to our troops during World War II.
The C-47 started out life in the 1930s as Douglas Aircraft Corporation's third commercial airliner, the DC-3. These aircraft are still flying today as a testament to how viable this particular design was. But in World War II, the military picked them up. They strengthened the floor. They added a second cargo door right here and used it to bring in paratroops, which was the primary method during D-Day. Or cargo. You could drive two Jeeps in the back or four pieces of artillery. These are the first airplanes that dropped supplies into the 101st Airborne Division.
Wow. And these are the D-Day stripes,
Those
right, Reed?
are the D-Day stripes.
The black and white stripes to inform our troops.
They were painted on basically the day before the invasion. So the Germans didn't have any idea that they were to come up with
It was a
these
surprise, surprise identification. Wow, that's amazing to do that fast. Because roughly how many C-47s did they use during D-Day?
They had 15,000 paratroops, so there was probably 5,000 of these airplanes.
Oh my God. Some of them. Can you guys imagine painting 5,000 planes, what, the day before?
Yeah, I'm not imagine the stripes were quite as even as they are.
Right.
But the passenger door on the DC-3 was right here. It was reconfigured to a jump door. So you can see the jump door is two pieces. The door is closed, and you could either leave the center portion open and leave it behind, or right before you got to jump, you could unbolt that section of the door, pull it in the airplane, and store it right there.
Oh.
But the center section is the door you jumped out of. And as we were talking about, jumping is a misnomer. You never jumped out that door, because if you jumped up, you're going to meet Mr. Tail, which is going to ruin your whole day. So you fell and pushed this way. You have a static line, and we can go inside anytime here.
Absolutely.
These are mock-ups of the static lines that you would have. They're not the actual static lines because they're very difficult to find anymore. This is where you'd hook up to the airplane, and this would be hooked up to your main parachute.
Okay.
And there's the D-ring for your main chute. So that cable is rubber banded back and forth across your back, and the buckles across your shoulder. So as you go out, this pulls, it pulls the rubber bands off. When we get to the end of this cable, it's going to open your parachute.
Oh, it pulls all these off.
Pulls all those off.
Okay. And then those pull the D-ring, right?
Those pull the D-ring, and opens up your chute.
The D-ring opens up the chute. Got it. So it's all system.
Now these guys were jumping out of this thing at about 2 o'clock in the morning in absolute pitch darkness.
Pitch dark.
And the Germans had shut off all the lights below you. I had a chance to do a tour for a D-Day veteran, a paratroop. He said, thought we were jumping out of these airplanes at 3 to 1,500 feet. Well, they jumped out of these airplanes at somewhere between 300 and 500 feet, which always leads me to wonder why they gave you a reserve chute.
You wouldn't be able to use it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're only talking, what, a minute or not even seconds?
Not even that.
Seconds, right?
And you don't want to be hung up in the air.
Yeah.
But this is the D-Day layout. There's the airfields that were dedicated for the 101st and 82nd Airborne Division. The British 3rd Airborne Division was over in eastern England. So there was their flight paths and their checkpoints. And these were radio ships. So these were the only beacon markings. There's no GPS in these airplanes. They're using basically a magnetic compass and a stopwatch to navigate. So they had these things to navigate with. They were supposed to be led in by an airborne company from each division called the Pathfinder Company. And they were to mark the 4 landing zones and the 4 drop zones with lights and radios. Most of these guys either didn't make it or were captured. Only one of the teams made it. So only one of the drop zones was actually partially marked. So this is where they're supposed to land. This is where they landed.
That's a little further inland, yeah.
The mission was to hold these 3 roads. They were the only roads off of the beach. And most of this area is a swamp. So if you don't hold those roads, those guys will never get off the beach. The landings will fail. And then the first thing in the morning, the glider people came in to the landing areas.
Oh, they used the gliders then.
And they had some problems as
and the gliders were the 82nd.
Well, the 101st, well, the 101st had 2 here.
Got it. So you had 2 82nds
and 201st.
201st.
And then the 3rd Airborne Division over in the eastern part of the beaches had their own. But this is basically what...
Is this an original floor?
This is an original floor.
Wow. If this floor could talk, the stories it would tell would be amazing.
We tried to replicate the seats.
It'd be something similar though, like a steel frame.
It's a steel frame with basically a butthole for you to put in.
Got it. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but it'll hold, what, 27?
About that.
27
We've got
paratroopers?
28 seats, because we use it as a classroom for our D-Day presentations.
Here's what I always wondered about this airplane. I was always wondering, when they had the wounded in the racks, what would it hold, like 20 racks?
You could put 21 stretchers along both sides. We've got a couple.
Would they also have the paratroopers or just soldiers? Or
these seats will fold back against the wall.
They needed all the room they could get to
Yeah.
get all those litter racks in.
Yeah.
And then they would have the nurses attending back and forth?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, what a lot of people don't recognize is, you know, we have to take World War II movies with a grain of salt, even something like Band of Brothers.
Yeah.
What scares the high school kids? You know, you're going into combat for the first time. You're hitting flak.
And flak is, for the people at home,
Basically pieces of anti-aircraft fire when they explode.
Exploding in the air, going through the airplane.
Yeah, and the skin of this airplane is sheet aluminum. So anything that hits it's going to
There's no armor whatsoever.
No armor plate at all.
It's like butter.
If you've ever seen pictures, and we have one in our gallery in here, of General Eisenhower the afternoon before the invasion talking to members of the 101st Airborne
Well, it's a
Division.
famous picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the people in the picture was an Akron, Ohio resident.
What's funny about the picture that Reed's talking about is when we buy, or I encounter collections and I buy memorabilia, everybody thinks that it's their relative that's in the picture. Everybody wants to say, that's my uncle, that's my, you know, that's my grandfather, you know, so-and-so.
But he survived.
But you actually have an identifiable person in that famous photo. That's amazing. Is he still alive?
No, he's passed a number of years ago. He gave us some great stories as well.
Oh, I can only imagine. Which one is he? Because there's the guy with the mohawk.
Henry Fuller is sitting to the right-hand side. This is Henry Fuller. He grew up in Akron, Ohio. Henry was a member of the 101st Airborne Division, jumped into Normandy on D-Day. There's his official military photo. So in the center of the picture, you'll see a tall kid. Now that picture was distributed during the war. But to the right-hand side of that picture, that's Henry Fuller from Akron, Ohio.
That's him right there.
So Henry jumped into Normandy on D-Day. He survived. 3 months later, he jumped into another operation called Market Garden and survived that. 3 months later, Henry was wounded, his Purple Heart and a Bronze Star there, when a large portion of the 101st Airborne Division was cut off and surrounded in a little town called Bastogne during the Battle of the Bulge.
And then we have his, that's a backup parachute that we were talking about.
Yeah,
that was totally useless.
Just like these.
Guys, this would be the full setup of a paratrooper.
40-pound rucksack, which was hanging below down here.
Okay, the rucksack, yeah, down below, right?
That would be on a 40-foot cable, and you'd release that before you hit the ground.
Do we have a parachute on the back here?
Parachute's on the back.
And then, so up here, you got a small flight crew, right? You got
Pilot and co-pilot.
pilot, co-pilot.
To the left-hand side is the navigator station, and behind the door was the radio operator.
Okay.
He was also the crew chief.
What do they consider the flight engineer? Would that be the flight engineer?
That would be the flight engineer as
Okay,
well.
got it. So they were having having to do multiple things because of the space that they had was very
Most
limited.
World War II flight crews had more than one task.
No matter how big the plane was.
The bombardier was also the nose gunner.
Got it. Oh, he'd be running back and forth then,
Well,
right?
his machine gun was in the plastic right in front. So you can see the navigator station. All the radios were over here, and the pilot and co-pilot were up there.
Reed, what was the purpose of this escape hatch coming out of
If
the
you
top?
landed in the water,
Oh,
that's
you
the
just
only
go
way you're
right
gonna
out the
get
top.
out. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. A lot of the pilots back and soldiers all had the consensus that if you were going to crash in an airplane in World War II, this would be the one to crash in because it was so rugged, right? I mean, it could take abuse landing on different types of terrain.
Yeah, the plywood glider's not much of a chance, but your pilot typically was a sergeant that trained to fly the glider, not a pilot.
Right.
There's your warning bell if you can hear it. These airplanes are not soundproofed. So when they start those two engines up, it's very difficult to hear or talk to anybody on this airplane.
So there's no light indicator. It was just a noise.
Well, the light indicator's back
there are
here.
light indicators.
We've fabricated one. This is not the original light indicator. So your red light is when you start preparing, stand up, hook up, shuffle to the door. Your green light, when the green light came on, you had between 10 and 15 seconds to get everybody out that door.
10 to 15 seconds to get 26 guys out, right?
So if you froze in the door, the guy behind you is going to push you. And
Absolutely.
then identification on this particular mission was something brand new. They'd never used it before. So every airborne soldier was given the night before this mission a 2-cent child's toy called a cricket.
Oh, yeah. So they can communicate.
And this is how you identify a friend from an enemy. So if you're down there, you're basically all alone. You hear a noise in the bushes, you take this out of your pocket and give the sign. And whoever's in the bushes better give you the correct countersign, or you're going to shoot him.
It's too bad. Yeah, 2 a.m. in the morning. You gotta have some sort of indicator.
And you had to find out where you were using a paper map. Get to that road intersection, seize it from the Germans.
For those of you at home, the younger generation, a map is something where they had roads and things on paper. So they didn't have Google Maps back then, so
Yes.
or cell phones.
But they had to be there by 6 o'clock in the morning because at exactly 6:05.
4 hours. Wow.
All the Navy ships covering the beaches are going to take their prearranged targets under fire.
That's when they're going to loosen up the area with artillery.
Yeah, and those Navy guys have been told where you're supposed to be.
Right.
If you're not there, it's whose heads those shells are falling. When we talked to Eisenhower, see Eisenhower's picture, and I wouldn't be able to do this, and I was a colonel in the Army. He was standing in front of those young men. He was told that morning by his intelligence staff that the estimates of casualties among the airborne forces within 24 hours was 80%. So he was standing in front of those young men believing that 8 out of every 10 of them would be dead.
He had already known young and still had to give that speech.
Now, casualties weren't that bad. They were only about 40%. So 4 out of every 10 of those paratroopers died the first day.
Yeah, that's the definition of a leader right there. You got to put a face on for your troops to keep everybody inspired and motivated. That's a true grit story right there.
And then you go back to your house and cry.
Right. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that video as much as I did. It was a lot of fun, and to support us so we can keep doing more things like this, subscribe down below. And if you want to watch last week's video, click right here. And if you want to watch any of the other videos, click right down here. And we'll see you later. And remember, be honorable and keep history alive.